CNN is able to tell you now that NBA star Kobe Bryant was on board that helicopter and is now dead at the age of 41. Our Christine Brennan is with us now on the phone. So, there you go. All right, we're able to see you. Christine, tell us what you know and how this confirmation was made.
Fred, this is tragic and terrible news. And as people are hearing this news, now confirmed by CNN and other news organizations, it is hitting them as just one of the most unthinkable things you could have here. CNN has confirmed this news. Kobe Bryant, 41 years old, had retired just a few years ago from the NBA after a stellar career, one of the greatest ever, Hall of Fame. He played only his entire career with one team, the Lakers, and in many ways he was the Los Angeles Lakers. So when you think of Kobe Bryant, it's sports, but it's more than sports. He was a part of our culture, Olympic teams, Hollywood. The father of 4 daughters. So recently he has been seen at women's sporting events, supporting the U.S. women's soccer team, WNBA games with his girls, and all about the empowerment of young women as well. Controversy, of course, allegations of sexual assault many years ago, but he overcame that and has become such a cultural icon and such, not just about sports, but about our culture and a huge piece of Americana. And so that's why this news is absolutely tragic, stunning, and a shocker. I'm sure that as people are listening in and finding out about this, they are as shocked as I was when I heard the news. It's truly awful.
Oh, it is heartbreaking, and to see these beautiful images of he and his wife, Vanessa, and their 4 daughters. And one of his most recent projects, I mean, this NBA star, had also started this like children's, book program and was branching out into, animation, cartoons, as an educational tool for kids. He was very conscientious, Christine, of the power of his celebrity and taking it beyond, his 5 NBA championship title, perimeter, but making it much more broad and affecting a lot of people.
And that is why this news, it would be devastating anyway for anyone to lose their life. Mm-hmm. But then to have it be someone who has left the sports arena and has become part of our lives in so many ways. The Academy Awards. You mentioned his work in movies, his work in animation, his work with children's books. And looking ahead at the age of 41, still very young, looking ahead to a life and a career in all of those facets of media and of working for good. This is a man he came right out of high school, right to the NBA. And has been one of those names and one of those people that has been around us for a very long time. We're in love with athletes on a first name basis, some of the biggest names, and certainly Kobe has always been one of those. And so yes, looking ahead, retired a few years ago from the NBA, but not retired from our lives and not going away. And in fact, being a part of, as I said, as you said too, the culture and entertainment and showing up at the Academy Awards and being at places and big places, a big personality, a person who had so many more things to do. And I think if he had just been a basketball player and just been a great basketball player, that by itself would have made this news, of course, as stunning and as tragic as it is right now. But then because of the promise of what was yet to come and the fact that he would have had another 30, 40 years in the spotlight and was going to embrace those years, it's just, again, it's really, it's awful news. It's terrible. And of course, it's something that I think we're all just coming to grips with right now.
Christine, I just watched a documentary last week that involved him and helped you remember what that retirement, that moment was like for him when he walked into the Staples Center and talked about how, appreciative he was of Los Angeles and the Lakers of allowing him to grow up, of teaching him, to be a more giving player, what it was to become a team player. I mean, remarkable that audiences, were just reminded of that yesterday. Talk to me about your memories about how we watched him grow up with this huge responsibility of being a professional athlete and being a rising star, and how he grew and learned about the responsibility, of being a high-profile athlete.
Well, you're right. He was a kid when we first heard about him. He's coming out of high school right to the NBA, and we know how hard that is because the players have done it. And LeBron James certainly has done it. Kobe did it, but it's rare, and it's rare that the arc of the story would be so successful and just so majestic. And Kobe did learn. He talked about the mistakes he made. He was a kid. He goes from high school right to the LA Lakers, and a spotlight that New York, LA, maybe Chicago, there's so few places that spotlight burns so brightly. And Kobe embraced it and went right into that. And of course, there were issues. And well, it seems terrible to mention at this moment of his death that we're talking about the sexual assault allegations, the trial. That was a terrible moment, and that was not good. Obviously, I'm not going to sugarcoat that at all. But within those mistakes, there was also learning. And there was also a sense from him, as we saw, as I mentioned a little bit ago with his daughters, of wanting to be a part of showing them this new world for women and opportunities for women and girls. And so as you look at the arc of his life and his career, and you look at how he's grown and became just a stalwart in our culture and in the community, and as I said, the things that could have been coming forward over the next 20, 30 years in his life. I mean, that is, the tragedy is losing him, what he has done, the history of Kobe, Hall of Fame, one of the great names in sports and one of the great performers ever in the NBA and throughout sports, but also the promise of what he could do in our culture moving forward. Even though he was retired, there was so much more yet to come for
as
Kobe.
a 41-year-old man, still a very young man who could continue to make an impact and still will, I'm sure, even posthumously. Christine, thank you so much.
Good afternoon from New York. We're coming on the air with breaking news, very sad news to tell the sports world. The LA Times is reporting that retired Los Angeles Lakers basketball star Kobe Bryant has been killed in a helicopter crash. It happened this morning. The chopper reportedly went down just before 10 a.m. local time, according to the fire department out there in Calabasas, California. That's northwest of Los Angeles. You can see the picture there. It burst into flames on impact, starting a nearby brush fire. The 41-year-old Kobe Bryant was reportedly traveling with 4 others in that aircraft, in that helicopter. The L.A. County Fire Department saying all 5 people perished in the crash. At the time of the accident, there were foggy conditions in that area that may have diminished visibility. Bryant leaves behind a wife, Vanessa, and 4 daughters. He was, of course, one of the most legendary players in NBA history, starring for 2 decades with the LA Lakers, a 4-time All-Star MVP player, winning 5 championships, making 18 All-Star games before he retired in 2016. I want to bring in NBC Sports host Mike Tirico. He joins us by phone now. Mike, I don't think we can overstate what a legend Kobe Bryant was.
No, Kate, certainly not. And everyone in the sports world, not just the folks who've been in the basketball world, are just shocked by this news. Kobe retired from the NBA in 2016. He's the 4th all-time leading scorer. He was the 3rd all-time leading scorer until yesterday. LeBron James passed his mark yesterday. And Kobe tweeted out his congratulatory remarks towards LeBron. After that, he was with one of the marquee franchises in the NBA, the Los Angeles Lakers, and that allowed the Hollywood presence that you're talking about. Kobe was a celebrity. He was a star on and off the floor. His championships go back 20 years. He came right from high school to the NBA at a time when that was not done very often, and became one of the greatest players in the history of the league. This is a very close league. Its superstars and its leaders are in a very small and tight circle. Just this week, Kate, I was in New York at Radio City Music Hall, where they had an unbelievable gathering of basketball greats honoring the late David Stern, the commissioner who passed away on January 1st. And the community was still saddened by the commissioner's passing 25 days later. And this will only devastate all the basketball community and all the people who love sports, because Kobe Bryant truly was one of the great sportsmen of our generation.
Mike, we don't know where the helicopter was coming from and going to at this point. It went down. Calabasas is near Malibu, California. I know he's been in the business world of late. He's got a number of projects. He's had a number of deals, I think, with Nike and others. Explain that. What has he been up to more recently?
Sure. He retired in 2016, Kate, and even on the day of his final game that I had the chance to broadcast, he scored 60 points in that game. Most that anybody scored in the NBA that year as an individual. Kobe was taking meetings that morning near his house, near his office, which was not near downtown Los Angeles yet. Because of the 20 years in L.A. and the notorious traffic in Los Angeles, Kobe, as he got later in his career, would commute from his home, where he had an office nearby, and would commute via helicopter downtown to Los Angeles, where they played at the Staples Center or to do other things. So Kobe's helicopter has been in use for several years. Some had referred to it as Kobe One, a la Air Force One, his personal helicopter for commuting downtown to Los Angeles to avoid the traffic. So when I heard the news Kobe Bryant helicopter, you put together right away, that is something he had used often.
And talk more about his career. I mean, you've already hit on the highlights, but this was a special player.
2 Olympic gold medals, 5 NBA championships. In his 20 years, he was an all-star 18 times, which is the second most in the history of the league, and as I said, was 4th in points. But those stats and accolades, extraordinary by any accounting, pale in comparison to the people who competed against Kobe. Kobe had a drive and a desire to compete unlike many athletes any of us have covered in many sports. It was the old, if his mom was there guarding the basket, he would go and attack the basket and go over his mom for a hoop. That was Kobe. He had he was nicknamed the Mamba, and it was known as a Mamba mentality. And you've seen him talk about it to many athletes in various sports, ranging from other NBA players to teammates to college basketball players and women's college basketball players of the current day. They all have been inspired and in some way pushed by Kobe Bryant's mentality to be that extra level of great. And you've been showing the pictures of Kobe here on the screen, and one of them is with his daughter. His daughter is one of the 4 daughters, was a very good young basketball player, and we've seen lots of shots at NBA games the last 2 years of Kobe talking basketball and other things with his daughter, and that's just one of many heartbreaking aspects of this unbelievable story.
Unbelievable. We didn't believe it in the newsroom when we first started hearing reports, Mike. A wife, Vanessa, and 4 daughters. Just to note, NBC News has just confirmed the passing. We're no longer attributing this to the LA Times. NBC News has spoken with the city manager of Calabasas, California, confirming Kobe Bryant died in a helicopter crash. You see the wreckage burning there in the background of that shot. This was about 10 a.m. Pacific time, so that's about 1 p.m. Eastern time today on a Sunday. Mike, what will happen now? Are you hearing yet from any other giants in the world of basketball or sports? I assume there'll be an outpouring of grief.
There will be, Kate, as is the case in 2020. This news often transfers around the country much quicker than it used to because of social media, and just seeing the reports and comments of some on social media, it's complete devastation emotionally for so many people who were inspired by Kobe. And undoubtedly, as you watch not just NBA games, but I think games in any sport over the next 4, 5, 6 days, you will see emotional tribute. You'll see Kobe's number, either number 8 or 24. He wore both in his career. You'll see them on sneakers. You'll see players wearing them if they can. You'll see displays of emotion and signs and, of course, moments of silence. I think not just in the NBA or college basketball, but sports all over the country as we go through the next few weeks. And certainly the sports world will be in mourning because at age 41, Kobe had so many things beyond basketball that was part of this life, including being a dad to those 4 girls as well.
Hey, it's Chad. We don't have a reporter.